All right, welcome back to another episode of the Supply Chaney podcast. I am your host, Nathan Chaney, and this is the podcast where we talk to the experts and the people with lots of experience in supply chain, but we try to take it from a human interest piece approach and really try to peel back who are the people behind the supply chains that we all kind of see that bring us goods and services that we need to our front door. And today we are joined by David Zingery, DZ, kind of known in the industry, the CEO and founder of Midmo.ai. He is an expert in the AI, ML, IoT, and all the other sort of acronyms that you could throw out there these days. And kind of came out with some news at Manifest and is doing some fun things in the industry when it comes to visibility, that keyword that we're hearing a lot about today. So with that said, David, I'll hand the digital microphone over to you for a minute and let you do your elevator pitch about yourself and give some of your background.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, I've been in the space, I'll say technology space for the better part of 25 years. And I've got that Midwestern background and approach, raised homegrown kind of Northeast Ohio, but boomeranged a little bit back and forth Florida. But yeah, for the most part, I've got, I've always had, maybe it's my millennial roots, but always interest in robotics and automation and, that AI. So technology has always been kind of a fun, sweet spot for me. But and along that journey, I've had the opportunity to work and collaborate with some really cool companies, and maybe we'll chat a little bit about some of those too over the years. And I've picked up a lot of fun little tips and tricks along the way. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's good to be here. I appreciate the time spent, and it was a good time at Manifest. And I know we kind of kept chasing each other around, but yeah, looking forward to unpacking some of that stuff too.
All right. All right. Well, first thing I'd like to unpack is the box labeled photo albums and kind of learn a little bit about David, the younger, growing up there in Ohio, the Midwest area. What was life like for you? And what kind of trouble did you get yourself into as a teenager and whatnot?
Yeah, I'll try not to incriminate myself too much. No, I was
the statute of limitations has far run out by now.
Yeah, you can edit this. Hopefully, cut all that stuff. No, I was super social kid, a lot of friends, a lot of different groups, big into sports. The basketball was really one of my sweet spots. So a lot of that, it's a lot of travel ball for that. Ended up getting into martial arts too. That was a big influence for me. It just kind of, it comes up in all aspects of life. But yeah, I was a junior Olympic gold medalist. So just really, that really was the defining kind of, driver for me and I'm kind of a person, but also it teaches you a lot about life. And it all happens in the hard things, and I don't know, like I alluded to earlier, that Midwestern mentality, it's strong, and I think it carries well through the company too, and our culture. So yeah, I don't know, there's I think in that that region, Ohio, I always like to joke it's kind of the epicenter of the universe. I feel like there's always some sort of connection to it. I grew up in Akron, Ohio, which is more prominently known for, the kid from Akron, LeBron James. But, I like to think that I'm kind of second or third on that list for reference. But yeah.
So you kind of rattled off a couple of different sports, and then you talk about Junior Olympics stuff. So what discipline was that in exactly?
Yeah, that specifically was Taekwondo. But I've done a lot of kickboxing and Muay Thai over the years, and some dabble with different types of karate. But it's always been kind of a passion of mine. I don't know if it's I don't know, my need to kind of get that aggression out. I don't know, if there's a driver behind that, but it's kind of been, I like that interaction with people. I like those challenges that are hard, and I've always felt like I've made my closest friends, or I've had some of my biggest experiences through that, need to kind of engage others at various levels. But, with that, I've had this, I have a couple boys, and through conversations with them recently, it's, sometimes there's, scenarios where you're presented with, power or the opportunity to make a decision, and, the ability to kind of control that and aim that, and not react to it. I think that's, it's served me well in life, and, it's helped me kind of be a better parent, but also I think, there's definitely some fun business, professional connections to that too. So I don't know. Yeah. Long answer, short question.
But now, if we're looking at your profile here, we see golf enthusiast. So,
Yeah.
I guess, kind of in the world of business, I feel like golf is kind of just a necessary tool in the tool bag for
Yeah.
business folks. But like, how'd you stumble into that? Was that always there in the background, or?
Yeah, in my 20s I picked it up. I wish I would have picked it up sooner. And it was more of just a hobby type of thing. I guess it kind of still is, but now I use it, as a destination. There's so many great opportunities to just meet people and to spend good time with people and while you're going somewhere, fun and interesting. So I've really tried to layer that into, I don't know, just my approach towards life. There's just so much great golf to be had, but the cool thing is it's always, with people. So there's always kind of great stories that come of it. And I don't know, I just love people. So yeah, that's just, I think it's rooted in my need to be social and to connect and kind of share that. But yeah, it's fun. And ultimately you're competing against yourself. There's no other game like it. It's just such a challenge. And you play one way, your swing is one way one day, and the next day it's completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think a lot of sports are a fun exercise in logistics in general. If you think, like I do a lot of cycling, I've also played golf, tennis, like kind of everything, a lot of solo sports. And so a lot of it is about training and practice, getting a process and being able to repeat that process day in and day out efficiently. So I think that sports kind of lends itself to logistics and operations in a big way. What I'm kind of curious, a question I like to ask everyone is what was like your first job? You know, were you possibly doing something that you could have foreseen getting yourself into the industry you're in today?
My first job was I actually worked for my dad. He owned a company it was designed to support kind of elderly people, like small project type things. Quality home services was what it was called. But
Okay.
through that, the high school job, that period, I got to like learn how to rewire a light fixture or a light switch, or we're digging up like pipes and like it was just painting houses. It taught me a lot of like good things when early adulting, trying to just kind of figure it out. So like from that standpoint, it was pretty valuable. But at the end of the day, like there's things you kind of pick up for solving problems, and I'm glad I had those kind of beginnings. And I was a little country growing up too.
Yeah.
We lived on a few acres. I had woods and things to go explore, but I was allowed to use my imagination, and I was kind of able to like execute. So the things I could go and build, and it's like I had a good kind of well-rounded knowledge base and learning from those type of things. But yeah, it was fun.
I can see that picture there. I'm also kind of a country boy as well. So I think there's something about having some space and a shop and being able to kind of go do what you want to do that lends
Yeah.
itself to people that go on to build things and tinker with ideas and
Yeah, that's
solve
a curve.
problems.
That's a curveball of a question there. That's fun. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, kind of looking here at your education, like kind of kickstart, those first years getting out of the house. What was kind of going through your head as you were preparing to go out into the adult world and go do some studies, and
Yeah,
what was going on there?
I think I've always loved people, and I thought I would go down, kind of more of I was on like kind of a ministry track for counseling and kind of just looking to help people. And it's always been, I don't know, it's okay. It is definitely a passion project of mine now. Like I keep looking for opportunities to do that. But yeah, so I started to go down the psychology path. And when I just realized I wasn't that in love with like the human brain aspect of it. It's like, okay, this is not really for me. And so I started
Hmm.
shifting more towards like a business, a marketing and a communication, and wanting to be able to, converse. Like, how do I convey a message? How do I, take what people are looking to tell me or to implement? How do I make that, into something valuable? So like that's been, kind of just a trend throughout the rest of that kind of career, like in business. I started down a path to where, I've always been kind of a fine artist. So I did a lot of
Hmm.
painting and drawing, translated that into like commercial art, so I would wanted to, pre-press. I was able to, implement like these, different ideas these large agencies or different companies had and visualize that. So graphic design was kind of a root piece of my marketing background. And And along that journey, and it's like I started working for these different companies or working with these different agencies and collaborating. And so like the technology, the innovation, to be able to make something from nothing thing has always been just, I don't know, it's fascinating to me. So like, you fast forward today, like with Midmo, and like we have the ability to, you're creating data at the edge. I'll say bolstering that, like you're making sure that that data integrity is strong from these various types of devices, and we'll get to that in a second.
Hmm.
But you're creating something from virtually nothing. So then you have
Yeah.
this data, this transformational, like decision making, actionable type of information and context. Like it's exciting to me. That stuff is so fun. So I don't know. It's just been kind of a, it's a path I've been on, and it makes a lot of sense looking back. So fun, good question.
Yeah. It's I feel this story kind of forming of, this kind of hands-on kid kind of like in a shop messing around
Yeah.
solving things, and now you get to do that. And I kind of I can see that as well, that now you get to just do it at an adult level, in a way
Yeah.
that pays the bills
Yeah.
and puts food on the table. And it's really just an extension of where you were starting down that path, right? But now we're all here. Let's talk a little bit about some of those first steps, in the work world and career wise. Kind of walk us through your journey here a bit.
Yeah. So I mentioned some of the agencies, and that, there's more, physical versus digital, and the digital
Hmm.
space is where I was really attracted to. And it really took me down, into kind of a role, that's more in alignment with what I do today. I've worked for directly and then fractionally for some other software and technology companies that are aligned with supply chain and logistics. And I look back very fondly on those products, those different technologies that they were able to implement, and I was able to experience and interact with. I'm super grateful for those days. It's really exciting because it helped kind of stimulate those concepts and ideas and those tools that, I think right around that 2019, 2020 time frame, I started to, kind of build and develop on my own. So, but without those influences, that background, yeah, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, and Midmo wouldn't be a thing. So very grateful for those times. Exciting. They were definitely exciting days.
Yeah, yeah. So you said a while ago your passion sort of on the agency side was on the digital end of things.
Yeah.
And like kind of, you still ultimately, you've done some head of growth and strategy and now building your own business. How do you kind of look at marketing these days? You've had a lens, you've had a front row seat to it for a bit. How has kind of like marketing and in the industry of visibility and supply chain kind of changed since, over the last decade or two?
Yeah, marketing is, I don't know, it's a little bit, depending on if you're B2B, B2C, but I mean,
Yep.
ultimately, we're business to business, and
Right, right.
the companies primarily, Midmo is primarily a partner directed, like partner led organization. So like we don't have a vast amount of like sales teams. We're not out trying to sell. We kind of do that through value through that partner ecosystem. So we
Hmm.
enable those partners to utilize our products. We're gap fill in many ways, but ultimately like our focus is, we want to own that edge for AIDC, item identification and automation. So we've gone ahead and proactively connected to these big leading brands of technologies, and it's kind of ranging from fixed devices to wearables to handheld things and vision applications. So it's vast, and we've enabled thousands and thousands of different sensors and devices to be easily ingested through our low code tools to ultimately provide value. But that collaborative nature, that piece, that orientation of the company enables us to engage that market in a different way. So like our position is enablement and acceleration. So we want to simplify that connectivity piece from a middleware standpoint and
Hmm.
enable, like a lot of these companies that aren't, designed, like, I've got some experience with some great software companies that have a product that focused on solving some really big problems in the space. Maybe their sweet spot isn't to connect to Vision and BLE, or maybe they can do it, but maybe they can't maintain that. As soon as that firmware is updated, then they've got to go reactively go back and do that. We can just be that layer of connectivity, which future proofs our partners, future proofs that end customer, and enables just some powerful scaling and connectivity and growth. So, anyways, like ultimately that marketing piece, for like we we were at Manifest together,
Mm-hmm.
that conference, that convention, that expo is known for kind of seeking out innovation and leading. And I'm walking around with my team and we're looking at, some of the booths and some of the things that are being demonstrated. And it's like, this used to be like this whole industry was kind of known for being, it's just a bunch of guys, middle-aged guys, and they're truckers and they're kind of like, this it is the most innovative leading, like I see so many exciting things happening like at that. So like from us, like to keep it kind of on the marketing path, like it was
Mm-hmm.
from a PR marketing, we are on a little bit of a burn from a growth standpoint. Like it's exciting. And, we want to be in front of those VCs. We want to be aligned with innovation in these companies. So I don't know. There's a lot of exciting levers to pull, but for us, it's our success and from a market engagement standpoint is by making our partner ecosystem successful. Like that's the
Yeah.
that's the key. That's the trick.
I think I can see that too. And that's kind of where I think I was heading with that question is it feels like before the Internet of Things and before everyone was creating kind of endpoint solutions that all do their own things, like there was not really a director of partnerships in marketing. Like
Yeah.
now it feels like just about every company has someone with a title and a mission to go out and build a partner network, and that is a big part of a go-to-market sort of motion, this partner ecosystem.
Yeah. That channel
and
play, for
and it
sure.
didn't really exist in a very significant way, I think, in the past before everything was SaaS and everything was internet. And so it's interesting to hear you kind of go to that place with your answer without me even needing to kind of chime in a bit of this partner piece. And whenever you say that Midmo is a partner-led organization, is that the kind of partner you're talking about? Is those channel partners, or is it partners as in the owners and founders and executives?
No, it's a good question. Yeah, those I would say by, definition, kind of like that channel partner category. But when I say we're partner led, like, we
Hmm.
don't compete with those partners for that end customer. We're not going out and seeking that end customer business. We're looking at how, these different partner types, they could be device OEMs, so they're making the technology, the sensors, the robot, like it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And then you've got software companies, they've got their sweet spot product that's focused on solving like these products. They're focused on an industry, they're connecting to these type of technologies. Then you've got these solution implementers who have like all of these different tools and professional services. And then you've got these implementers or integration companies that are designed to install these type of things. They're always missing that middleware component. And there isn't a good option in the space for them to get things connected at a lower price point that enables like quick, like we can get this stood up fast. So they have the ability then to start to learn and then scale. Like we're designed for scale. Our core product is called Motion View. And that's, designed for exactly that, to kind of kick off these type of science project. IT/OT teams love us because of that low code nature. You can connect just thousands of different things to it. And then you can create, actionable data from it. Do we have to be that end all, visual, the application layer? No. So a lot of times it's just edge to ERP or edge to WMS and let those core business systems be that decision maker, TMS. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
So, we're finding ourselves because of that agnostic position as a platform, ultimately working with these various types of partners to enable them to then sell a solution with a partner that isn't competing with them, at that end customer layer. So we're enabling them, truly positioned to, help them, solve problems. Like we're gap fill. Some of these partners have software already. Some of them have these professional services, or they, have technology that they can't sell a solution. So we enable that, and we don't go too far down any given road. So we don't have those type of professional services, and we're not trying to be a one-stop shop. It's not who we are. We stick to the digital. We stick to that connective tissue. So we live and work in those, I would say, between spaces. It's like those, back of store, warehousing,
Hmm.
distribution center, intralogistics, some manufacturing, scenarios too. So, but yeah, in a lot of ways, like we enable that connectivity to then, ultimately lead to value. So maybe another long answer to a short question.
You're good. You're good. I like it. I like it. There's a little meat on the bone. I can always
Yeah.
appreciate that. Actually, to back up, we've talked a lot about what you all do, those details. But what I'm seeing, if I'm looking through kind of like your work experience, is that you've kind of made this transition from helping other companies grow and be strategic and be smart about how they bring intelligence and visibility tools to market, and you've kind of made this pivot now recently to going and doing it on your own, and it's a different beast when you've got a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks or whatnot, and you're helping someone else grow their own business versus starting and launching your own because you feel like you've got a vision, you've got a way that you can go do it better, faster, cheaper, whatever it might be. And so I'm kind of curious from the entrepreneurial side of things, what was the tipping point, or what was it that triggered you to go out and build a solution?
Yeah, and it's a great question. And this is I could probably answer this in three different ways, but I
Okay.
started working fractionally. Let's see, that was kind of like 2019, 2020, and you could kind of my background, like previous years before that, was working with end customers, trying to be more of an account oriented focus. So working with these the largest companies in the world, multinational, international companies,
Hmm.
on kind of going down that supply chain visibility path, except I didn't have like a platform to be able to enable all of these different kind of one-off use cases to connect to the various types of technologies at one time.
Uh-huh.
So the concepts were there, the need for all of these modernization, digital transformation, like demand was there. You go into the pandemic, and you see a lot of those companies at that level needing visibility, immediately starting to buy technology, picking solution partners and software pieces to just make that happen. So, given that context, over the next couple years there, it became very obvious to me, because of that background, that experience working in that instead of building a product with a customer with that kind of past kind of carryover preference, or like features and like that singular kind of use case purpose, there needed to be an environment that was more platform oriented to solve these type of various supply chain needs. But it then set the stage for what is Motion View today. Those companies that went out and they purchased technology, or they picked these software providers, and they just had to go, over the last few years, or the next following years, they were optimizing that. So they're like, did we buy the right things? Like, now things are back, like things are kind of clicking normal. Like, do we need this full, like premium grade, like software product? No, we just actually need to maintain connectivity to these things we've already bought. And then we need to start adding some new ones here and there, because now they have data. Now they've learned what works and what's not. So they're looking for more context around that key kind of journey data. So like that's, like that is, I've always been very entrepreneurial. Like, I've had a couple
Hmm.
companies. I even have a golf brand. It's probably another, we'll have another talk about that one of these days. But
Okay.
like, so that part, it was like an easy thing. I see this hole in the market. I'm going to
Yeah.
build this piece to fit that. And I'm going to position this company to service it correctly. And that's why we took that partner-led orientation. So hopefully that's, what you're after.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I always like to kind of ask, of the founders, what's the story behind the name? Is there a story
Yeah.
behind Midmo?
Midmo, middleware, Midmo very simply is middleware for a world in motion. And it's kind of a nod truly to that. We want to be that connectivity to the edge. If it's just middleware, like, we want to enable these identification automation type, so like needs and solutions. But yeah, like I don't know, like it's something that I learned that there was a need for it. The name is something that's just been kind of a fun kind of nod to that,
Hmm.
like truly our roots of being just connectivity focused. But yeah, that's it. No deep story beyond, like, just a good kind of background, marketing
Hmm.
guy having some fun. So
Sure, sure, sure. Um, and the URL and the rankings and all that sort of stuff probably worked well for you.
yeah,
I'm curious if we kind of go back, if just putting it real cleanly, you've talked about partner led of being a kind of a middle ducting sort of thing that helps everyone connect. But who then is your ICP? Like if you're going to put that in kind of a tight description there.
Yeah, so that partner layer, that's our, we talk to them, we support them, we license, with them to support that end customer. So they are our first customer. So like that is, those type of companies that, that need that connective tissue. And they could be large and they could be small, and we are, collaborating at various levels to enable those type of solutions. But, we're kind of a low cost, very palatable from that standpoint, because we just know like there's, the types of sensors, the type of devices you're connecting to, like
Mm,
ultimately, we've created a pricing model that translates and scales appropriately. So we always talk about
okay.
growing as you go. They have the ability to connect a few sensors and it's not going to cost you much. So you can begin kind of that POC, that learning, and do some testing and understand what you need at a very low light level. So yeah, ultimately that's kind of the position.
Okay. So you've brought up Manifest a couple times, and Manifest is one of those shows that it's at the early part of the year, and it's one of those places that a lot of people come out and make announcements and do some PR stuff, and I think you all did that as well. So
Yeah,
let's take a minute to just kind of chat through what y'all have kind of recently released and what's news.
it's great. It's great. Um, we had made an announcement for our edge intelligence modules. Our whole position in the market is, connectivity. A lot of the, you know, it's being able to connect not just to new technologies and innovation, but old, antiquated, like legacy technology that these companies own too. So, I'm not a big fan of rip and replace. I like to, if we can extract life from those type of things and optimize those existing solutions, like there's a lot of exciting ways to do that. But there's, AI in our world, like there's a lot of hype, and Manifest was full of it. And every company, it seemed like, like you would look left or right and everybody was AI something. Like we're not doing big, scary, giant model training, or like we found some great ways to operationalize it at the edge. And that's really, that's our focus. That's our sweet spot. So we want to continue to kind of lean into those things. But this announcement was around these different, we've got some various edge or AI models like that are components and features that are connected to either our mobile application, which is Valid Point, or Motion View, which is that, traceability core, if you will. And I'll give you an example. Like RFID is a hot topic for us. Like that's not going away. I think
Hmm.
from a price point, there's a lot of companies looking at how to leverage that for like real transformational value, which is exciting. Retail, healthcare, there's legacy stuff in automotive, and there's it's just kind of across the board for like food traceability. We've built Motion View to handle those different types of, not only the journey of the item, and an item in our world is very headless. So it could be a person, it could be a finished good, it could be, a part, it could be reusable packaging, doesn't matter. But we have the ability then to track that journey, but also all of those conditional transformations and happenings along the life of that item or whatever it is. So cold chain solutions, there's a lot of great little conversations that are spin-offs of this, but we've created these modules that are repeatable for different various like shipping and the shipping, receiving, or those type of like trading partner collaboration type scenarios too. So I'll give you an
Uh-huh.
example, just a quick one.
Okay. I love examples.
Yeah. So RFID, a lot of times customers want to explore this technology. They want to implement it, understand the value, build their business case, kind of trying to find that ROI.
Hmm.
RFID in a lot of ways, like you have like fixed portals, or you've got RFID tunnels that go on these different conveyors. And so there's a fixed infrastructure that requires like installation of PoE, and that's all good because that stuff, it's powerful technology, very valuable. At the same time, there's things that are mobile, like I mentioned wearables earlier, and like handheld devices. So like what we've done, like with maybe I'll say 7 different handheld devices, like we've connected to many. Valid Point runs on a ton of them, but we have the ability to upscale what is historically a manual device that requires somebody to pick it up, pull the trigger for it to function, right? So you can do cool things like you manage your inventory, you can locate items, it'll beep louder, faster, kind of like a Geiger counter function. Or you can do cycle counting, like collect, like this is everything I see. So you can count things fast. It's a great tool for inventory, just period. But it requires somebody to pick it up. They have to have it. They have to go get it. So what we've done, one of these modules, this Edge Intelligence module that's connected to Valid Point, is the ability to dock that device and then monitor a zone. So anything that comes in and out of that area, now you're kind of autonomously, passively watching those items' movement. It's just like what you would see like a fixed portal or a choke point type antenna or the application, very similar. But we've taken that a step further. So now through Motion View, each of those items have all of these different metadata type capabilities and contextual data that can be associated to it. So we do a lot of parent-child aggregation or kind of connection. So it could be pieces of apparel inside of a case, or cases on a pallet, or pallets going onto a truck, or pallets in an area, or different items that are kitted together to represent, like, have we, fulfilled this shipment? Like, are these the right things? Are they all here? Validation, verification that they're going the right place. So what we've done is you're scanning those items. We see them all there. We can aggregate them together. And then we also use the camera, so we call it load aware, to monitor forklift movements. So then we're layering the forklift movement of things moving in and out of these areas or on and off of a truck. So then you can aggregate these items together all from like one single handheld device that it doesn't cost that much. It gets you started. So then you're able to see this big picture of, okay, maybe we need a fixed infrastructure, or maybe this technology isn't quite exactly what we need here, but we can utilize it in these ways. So it is, like we have these tools now that our partners and our end customers ultimately have access to, that they can start to paint that bigger picture, and it's not going to break the bank. And there's like low friction kind of abilities to be able to just to kind of step and repeat that across the board. So those are a couple quick examples.
Okay, I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
good.
I'm curious, because as we wrap things up a little bit here, what you all do ultimately is help enable visibility, which enables resilience and enables flexibility, all this sort of stuff. But I ask a lot of the guests what their kind of quick take is on what is the definition of visibility, or how do you interpret this word that we hear a lot of, supply chain visibility?
I love that question. So I was actually on a panel at Manifest, and I think it was Four Kites. There was Acer was part of that. There was a couple other groups, like there was an RTLS provider. The name's escaping me at the moment, but that question kind of came up too. And it's visibility is tempting. Like it's like there's so much. Everybody's doing AI. There's the need to continue to kind of push that bar up, and we want visibility to everything. And that's kind of that's the tease, right? Everybody thinks like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be great to have visibility to everything? And it's like you can do that, but
Mm-hmm.
like why? Like why do you need everything? So I almost like start to try to challenge and chip away at, yes, you can establish visibility of things, but you need a couple key data points. You need context around why those things are doing what they're doing. And like one of our other, I'm just reminded that Edge Intelligence module, we call it IPP, so it's item performance profile. So as these items are moving, if they're moving correctly, they're getting associated correctly, they've gone through the proper workflows and checkpoints, like there's a kind of a footprint, there's a shadow, there's an image of like what that item should be doing,
Yeah.
of not just the data trail, but we want that color context around that journey, that conditional data, and kind of we pair that together to where like now we have a profile for how this thing is performing optimally in whatever the environment is. Like that's the type of thing that I challenge people to, from a visibility standpoint. Like it's not just, hey, I see everything. That's not going to really help you. It's like, what do you need to see, and then what do you need to understand about that situation, that scenario too. So, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of, it reminds me of, in this world of tracking like trucks on a route that they're supposed to be making, and knowing whether, having a geo fence around the lane a mile on each side of the highway. And if it goes outside of that, you get a
Yeah.
little trigger warning saying, hey, something's off. Like this little black sheep got lost over here.
Yeah. That's
Kind of
perfect.
sounds something like that.
So Motion View is our core. It's a traceability platform. You're able to connect various types of devices and sensors to it. That's kind of like there's a middleware component to where we can just simply act as that. It's low price point, but it's kind of lightweight too. Like it can connect anything. there's an application layer that visualizes that. So from an enterprise, like global applications, like we've got companies monitoring millions and things, around the globe, does translation, and that's kind of like this core product. We've we've seen a couple different needs to where we've been proactive, and we've built DocView is one of our newest products, and we kind of dropped that at Manifest too. And it's a visualization of all things happening, coming and goings of that receiving scenarios at that shipping dock. So we can utilize Motion View. We can also utilize DocView to see and integrate to all these different partners and 3PLs, different transportation providers. So you then have this command center to know this is what I'm working with in and out. We also created what's called Trips. It's a TMS it's kind of an extension of Motion View as well. So as you mentioned, like you can manage your fleet, you can manage your drivers, you can then monitor the items that are inside those trailers and do all of that parent-child association, transformation, things are moving in those controls all the way to the kind of proof of delivery sign off, like through the mobile app. So like we've continued to grow kind of in this space, but to offer those kind of core tools, it still is that position. But it was just I wanted to make sure that we talked about that you knew that was a actual thing, because that was also one of those announcements that we made at Manifest too. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, y'all are kind of getting your wings out there and getting infiltrating everything in the industry. It seems like where visibility is key.
Yeah. Well, it was a logical kind of near adjacent for us. So yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on and sharing some of your story. I always love talking to fellow country boys who got into logistics and supply chain. I love hearing those stories. And looking forward to bumping into you at another conference here soon.
I can't wait. Thank you. Look forward to talking soon. Okay.
Have a great rest of the year.
You as well. Cheers.